Good morning and welcome. It's 9 o'clock on the morning of the 19th of July and I've just made it to this live stream after losing my phone, which wasn't very helpful, but I managed to find it in the end. And I'm sat here with my cup of tea, ready to take your questions if you come live. I've not really advertised this, so if nobody comes live, I'll just prattle on about what I've been doing this week and what's coming along, because I'm expecting this to be pretty quiet over the summer. It doesn't seem to be a good time to advertise it. Right, so fabulous Jeff, who works on worksheets with me, has been working his socks off this week, and we have some new worksheets. These are now live on the Facebook group, and I'll get them live on TES and TPT by the end of the day. We have one here on rounding to the nearest 10. It's a worksheet on rounding to the nearest 10. Hi Helen, lovely to see you. This worksheet on rounding to the nearest 10 really is designed to embed the idea that when you're rounding, you have to be thinking about placing numbers on a number line and seeing which 10 they're closest to. So there's that one on rounding to the nearest 10. This one on rounding to the nearest 100 that's printed out with a blue bar, no idea why. If you've got any questions this week, Helen. And this one on rounding to the nearest 1,000. So that's suitable for about age 8 to 9 typically. I'm just finishing off the worksheets for the series on teaching number to children age 7 to 9. We're a bit behind. This and the final episode, the final video in that series that didn't have any worksheets was on multiplying and dividing by 10 and 100. So we have 4 worksheets on that. We've got multiplying and dividing by 10. Doing maths display for EYFS children. Is there anything you could recommend? We have up, I put up the number block characters and I'm adding numbers. So in pictures of shapes maybe. So in reception class or nursery in EYFS, if you look at any scheme, certainly mine as well, I strongly recommend that you work on one number at a time. So you have a working wall. So it's going to change as the number that you're focusing on changes. And if you're focusing, say, on the number 3, then the shape that you'd have up would be a triangle, because you'd be linking the number 3 to the sides of a triangle and the corners of a triangle. But if you download or if you look at my reception class series, it goes through all the different images of each number that a child needs to acquire to be fluent in that number. So they'd need to be able to see the number on a dice for small numbers, see it in 5s and 1s or on a hand. They'll need to be able to see the digit. They're going to be learning the digit, so that becomes part of the identity of the number. Thinking about one more and one less. It's all there. It's one of the fights that EYFS teachers have, in that they get children coming to them and the parent says, oh, my child can already do the numbers to 100, and they can reel them off, but they don't have the deep structural understanding of it. If you go to my main YouTube page and just go to the reception class series, there's a series of videos and you get a sense of how the numbers are built up. They've got different titles, so that's like number in half term 3 and it'll tell you which numbers you're doing. So the best way to plan your displays is to plan that display is going to evolve and change as the number that you're working on changes. And you're going to be wanting to include as much of the children's work as possible, but you also want some base components of that display ready in advance, so it's going to be easy during the year to change it. So you've got that mixture of having some really clear display work that you've prepared and a real child engagement and input with their work being involved in that too. That's what people have found is best, but really what matters is you're teaching, that you deeply understand what you're doing. So if, you should be able to find the videos if you go to playlists and go to age 4 reception class. The reception class series starts from scratch. It assumes that children have no knowledge. So if you, and haven't been in school. So if you're working with children age 3, That's great, Helen. If you're working with children aged 3, really you're just doing similar things but focusing on the smaller numbers. You don't want to be going past 10. Just really, really puzzling with those numbers, making sure children are enjoying them. Loads and loads of singing, and the series talks about how a lot of the reception class knowledge is rote learned. Okay, coming back to these worksheets, we have multiplication by 10 and 100 with whole numbers. We've got multiplication by 10 and 100 with decimal numbers, and then the same for division. So those 4 worksheets are there. Ooh, so what else has happened this week? Well, I published a new video yesterday, which is on images of multiplication and division. And it's really about when array doesn't work or isn't the right thing to do. So I talk about multiplication and division as scaling, which is one of the images that should be emerging during primary school. It's going to become important at secondary school when children study enlargements and they study the concept of reciprocal pairs for dividing fractions and so on. So there's no particular magic to that. It's just explaining it and advising you to lean into it so that if so you don't apply to array to it, because array you can if you're that obsessed with array, like maths teachers do with any bit of apparatus they love. They try and apply it to every concept, but it's really important also to say, is my apparatus the best apparatus for this concept? So I've done that there in that video and said array isn't the best way to do scaling, and it's not the best way to do compound measures like speed, meters per second. You have to, at primary school, lean into the examples, make sure children are deeply understanding the context and puzzling out answers, and we talk about how to explore compound measures. So that was yesterday, and then today is my big one. It's log multiplication. Now the video is nearly half an hour long, but the log multiplication bit is less than 10 minutes, and the rest of it is me rambling on about why teaching using low floor, high ceiling methods is so powerful and when it's useful. And I've done that because in so many forums teachers are asking, how am I going to cope with the chaos that we're expecting this winter? And we are expecting schools to be open and closed. The winter wave is predicted to be larger than the first wave. The only thing people seem to be arguing about is whether it's one continuous first wave or whether they're 2 separate waves. They just all seem to agree that we're in for a lot of trouble this winter. My children are out and about while they can be, while infection rates are low. Because I don't expect that to last. So teachers are saying, well, how am I going to cope when children have missed big chunks of their work, and some of them have done it all and some of them have done none of it, and they're not used to being in a classroom. And the methods that I show teachers to teach with are so powerful in those circumstances because they're low floor methods, which means that if children missed a year or more of maths teaching, they can still access these methods and learn in a really powerful way with them. But these discussions have made me realise how much these methods that I'm explaining, they were really, really considered to be important and valuable in maths education 10 years ago. And we've had 10 years of teachers being told to follow lesson by lesson schemes. And nobody understands them anymore, so I've just tried to explain them in tremendous detail. So that's what that video does for the rest of it when it's not doing long multiplication. And that is going live at 9:30. So just in about 20 minutes. And it's been a real labour of love. I haven't got it right, but I've had a go. My dad always taught me, if you can't get it right, get it rote, lass. My dad didn't speak with a Geordie accent, but we grew up in Newcastle. Going to be back there soon. The other big thing that's happened this week that's sort of led me in the same direction was that the National Centre here in England has published progression maps. And I've got mixed feelings about those because I know they're going to be really useful for some teachers who are using a small steps approach. And for some teachers, a small steps approach is the right method to use. But I also find them colossally painful because I look at them and go, oh my goodness, they could have been so much better if they'd been consulted. And if teachers who used other approaches rather than small steps approaches had been included, which they never are these days. And that's such a shame, such a loss for teaching. Why is it in this ongoing debate between traditional, the maths is out there, it's just transmitting it into the children and breaking it down into steps, and low floor, high ceiling techniques that allow every child to progress, even if they haven't done the previous stages? Why is it always over history that the people who prefer the low floor, high ceiling approach totally understand the small steps approach and accept why it's the right thing to do in many circumstances, but the people who like the small steps approach just seem to wipe out the other side of teaching. Hi, who's here? Please introduce yourself. I can see some people are watching. I'd love to take your questions if you've got any, or just if you're able to say hi, that would be great. Hello, lovely to see you again, JH. How are you getting on? I am getting towards the end of this broadcast, so if you want to ask a question, please pop it in, or if you just want to update me and tell me how things are going for you, that would be absolutely lovely. Love to hear. I'll just give it maybe about another 20 seconds, and then if nobody's saying anything, I will head off and let you have your Sunday, and I'll have my Sunday. We have a sleepover here. I'm really glad to hear that. Making good progress now. Or are you taking a break for the summer? Take a break. Hamilton on Disney. Let's go up for the summer. I've got a child who's more than just a little bit of a Hamilton fan as well. Okay, I think I am going to sign off. Oh, that's not a message. It's just telling me that my DPD delivery driver is going to be delivering a parcel soon. I don't know how to switch all the notifications off. I try, and then more just come in. I'll get the hang of that at some stage. All these early live streams are just about beginning to get the hang of it because it's so much harder than it seems. Okay. Hope you have a lovely Sunday. It looks like it'll be slightly better weather here. Let's get outside and enjoy it. And I hope you find this week's videos useful. If you have any comments on those, I would love them. Okay, bye for now.